Right. All right, at 6:30, we'll call the City Mayor regular City Council meeting to order for Monday, August 22nd. If we could start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, with that, do we have any additions to the agenda tonight?
Mr. Mayor, I want to talk about a budget meeting, and then I would like to talk about an open house. I was just going to bring that up under other business, if that's okay with you.
Yep, that's perfect. That'll be an appropriate place for it. So with that, I'll look for a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Now that'll take us to public comments. If there's anyone who would like to discuss anything that is not on the agenda, please come forward. Seeing none, we'll close public comments, move to consent agenda. Is there anything on the consent agenda that needs to be pulled for further discussion? Hearing none, I'll look for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0, and I'd like to thank the New Germany Fire Relief for their $2,000 donation to the fire department. Very much appreciated. With that, Luann, we can move to 6A1, 1379 Pinecone Circle.
Mr. Mayor, council members, at the past meeting, I had brought forward to you some ordinance violations for the property at 1379 Pinecone Circle. And one of the options, according to the city code, is that the resident can come before the city code and have a hearing. So you asked me, or to come to make their case. So you asked me to send him a letter, which I did. And I also made a phone call to be sure that he had received the letter, and reminded him about the city council meeting tonight, whether he wanted to come and be heard. So I don't know if Mr. Bjorn is in the audience or not. Okay.
Perfect. Would like to come up to the podium and state your name and address for the record. I would appreciate it.
My name is Bjorn Ricky. Address is 1379 Pinecone Circle. Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you. So you've been in contact, you've seen the issues, the concerns. Is there a plan to get the property cleaned up or?
Well, we've been in the process of building a retaining wall for about 1.5 years now, or so, maybe even 2 years at this point. So this isn't new to me. I mean, you guys have brought this stuff up before with past violations, and they got dropped because we were working on it. So at this point, we're, trying to wrap things up. We've got all the hardscapes done for the boulder wall, and we're working on finishing the patio, which we're I am 98% done, probably 95, 98% done of that. And then from there, we can start to get, put sod or seed down and have a real yard. So, which we're looking forward to as well. So that's what I've got to say. I don't know what you guys have to say.
So is there, I'll let Ryan get to some of the pictures. Is there business being operated out of the residence?
My LLC, one of the LLCs I operate is, that's our mailing address, yes. So we have our LLC is, all of our mails come in there, our checks are coming there. Our, as for transparency for our customers, I don't operate out of a PO box, and we don't have an office space currently. So we don't operate the business out of that per se. I mean, we have a storage that we keep all of our vehicles in, and then employees have their own vehicles they take home every night.
Go back to you have a list of
The letter that was sent.
Page 41 breaks them out a little bit from
Here's the letter that was sent. Because when the CSO went out, he said that he really thought that there was a business being operated out of the home because the garage is full of stuff too. And if you remember the one letter or the picture of the vehicles half parked on the street in the right of way, there's a construction truck there that can't be there. I mean, I consulted with our planner and him and I came up with the ordinance violations that he's really not supposed to be operating a business out of there. He can't, I'm not so sure that he isn't over the non-impervious surface with his back patio too now because of, which I asked him to provide me with, I need to know what they're putting for hard surface improvements in the back because they may have too much non-impervious surface. The skid loader, the dump wagon, the work trailer can't be parked on the property because that's obvious that those are for construction. His city vehicle was clearly parked in the city easement, which is a violation also. The weeds in the back and the vegetation in the back. I don't know if he's taken care of that or not, but we really have some issues with all the things that are parked there. He said his business is out of Silver Lake, but then why can't he take some of the stuff and park it in Silver Lake then instead of having it there? So
Based on the letter here of the violations that we're here to discuss, what will it take to resolve those?
So where are we talking about here? So these are the violations 1 through 3?
this is the letter that was hand delivered to the female at 1379 Pinecone Circle by the Carver County CSO.
Yeah, I got that.
Okay.
So, yeah, so you need a skid loader to do landscaping. That's pretty obvious. At times you need construction equipment as well. So when you're working on a project and you need things, you bring things there. And if someone happened to drive by it when we needed something there and it was there, then they took a picture of it and I can't stop them. Is it there all the time? No, that's just plain and simple. Go drive by my house right now. There's a boat in the driveway and another vehicle in the driveway. So, I don't, do I want to, keep all of our stuff there? No, but if I need it and I own it, I'm going to use it. Right. And I don't operate our business out of our garage. I happen to have a lot of toys and dirt bikes and things like that. And I didn't know it was illegal to have dirt bikes, but could be, I guess. Didn't really look into that. So right there, it looks like you got a
I can't get it
picture.
to flip. I apologize. So has the vegetation in the backyard been taken care of?
The vegetation.
All the weeds, do you see them all along the house?
Yeah.
That's your house, that tan house.
Yeah, I see that. That looks familiar. Yep. Has that been taken care of? No, I have not given that zero attention because I've been finishing our patio. But
Okay.
as soon as I finish the patio, I plan to.
And then this one was, the sand pile was gone. This stuff is in the backyard.
Yep.
Here's the construction trailer. Again, I apologize. It doesn't want to flip it for me.
So you call it a construction trailer. I call that an enclosed trailer. That doesn't have my company on it. Doesn't obviously isn't moving very much if there's a side-by-side parked in front of it.
And whatever this is in the front by the windows.
That is a sweeper I've been keeping right there because if we bring things with a track loader to and from the property, if they're ever in the street, I'm doing the service of my neighbors and everybody else to clean the street because we made a mess. So, huh?
You can't sit outside in your yard. If you put it in your garage, it's fine.
Yeah. Well,
The intent of having you here is to discuss remedying these violations and a plan or a timeline when they'll be done before. We'd like to try to work through it this way before we
Yeah.
do other things.
I appreciate
We're
that.
looking for timelines, resolution. What can you do to resolve these issues that were in the letter? Code violations.
Well, I can say as far as like the picture of the tarps and things, we had that over the patio and over the sand when it wasn't finished over the winter to protect it from freeze and thaw. I haven't made an effort to move that. I can certainly move those. Those are on a pallet. They just need to get put onto a trailer and put back into our shop. Not at 1379 Pinecone Circle. Same thing with the sweeper. I mean, my feeling about it was doing more of a service to my neighbors or anybody else. If the street was ever dirty, I mean, I would go out there even if it wasn't our mess, and just if there was stuff on the street, I had the equipment, I'd sweep it. And just for everybody riding bikes and the kids and whatnot, I always felt it was important to do that. That being said, if someone doesn't want it or you guys don't want it sitting in front of the house, fine, I get that. I'm sure I don't want it long-term sitting in front of the house either. That's not my plan. But if it's, to drive 20 minutes each way to go get it, to go sweep some rock, it's a lot easier just to leave it there while we're working on something. But so some of that stuff we can take care of, and I can move that stuff if that's an issue. As far as, getting the patio done, like I said, we're probably 95% done at the patio at this point. And then from there, we got to do, soil prep and start to get sod and seed and remove that stuff. Obviously first, that's me part of putting down grasses. You got to rip out the weeds, right? You're not going to have very good grass if you try to put that over it. So my goal is to get that wrapped up before winter hits this year, and actually have either seed or sod down so it can germinate and take and then be ready for spring. And then we're planning to, as you saw in the front yard, that has been a dump area. I mean, we've had, 10 loads of boulders brought back there. So, it's all that grass has been killed. It's been regrown. It's been weeds. It's been whatever. We've on the front, we've picked the weeds and made an effort to not make sure the front is looking like that. But as far as the back, I really didn't give too much time to the back, to be honest. I just focused on the things that were in our way of getting this bigger project done. So we can certainly, I can certainly put some time to, knocking down some weeds and doing that. But my opinion was, and my thought process was, if we're, a month away from putting down grass, wasn't going to spend time on it now when I'm just going to have to go back and do it again, because it's going to grow back in 2 weeks, probably, depending on how much water we get. So that stuff, that's that. I'd like to get all the stuff done, get the weeds and actually have a real yard. We're looking forward to that, to have a real yard. It's been a long time. As far as the work stuff, my opinion on it is, my take on it is, I see stuff all over the place in Mayor. I see stuff in our neighborhood, and I don't really care, to be honest. It doesn't bother me because it doesn't affect me. And that's the way I live my life. If it's not directly affecting me, I don't go out of my way to make it my business to affect somebody else's life. There are obviously people in the city that feel differently than I do. And there may be a lot of them, and that's okay. That those people get to live their lives the way they want to live it. And you guys have ordinances and things that you have to enforce. So as far as, construction equipment, I try to, if we're not using it, and I try to keep it somewhere else. It's either on a job that's making us money, or it's in Silver Lake. But like I said, if it's needing to drop rock and we have a dump trailer, we're going to use the dump trailer versus pay $100 to $300 to have someone else drop it. So that's kind of one of those things that's like, I get it, what you're saying, and I can do my best effort to not be on the cul-de-sac. And if that's an issue, people like have a truck hanging off, totally get that too. If that's, an easement and people don't like that. I'm pretty open with my neighbors and pretty communicative with my neighbors and friendly with my neighbors. So I always ask people, if something's bothering them, talk to me about it first if they can. But that's basically that. I mean, I can certainly, going forward, remove what's there as far as, construction equipment, tarps, or anything else. And then, hopefully, as this thing wraps up, people understand that you gotta, to cultivate dirt, you gotta have a skid loader. I'm not out there. It's not the 1800s. I'm out there by hand. And then I can just go work on, putting more stuff at, back of the shop. If it's a long day and I've got it, instead of driving 20 there and dropping something off and driving and spending another hour, I'd rather just be at home with my kids or doing what I want to do. So that's my take on it. If it really grinds people's gears, then, I'm open to suggestions otherwise.
So this letter was dated June 23rd, and we had asked for 10 days to resolve it. And it appears nothing has been done since. Has anything been done since June?
I mean, resolve, like, so there's no truck in the driveway that was in the picture. There's no, but as far as like me going out there and knocking down weeds or finishing the patio or doing anything else, no, I don't think anything's really changed. I mean,
You're saying 1 and 2 are resolved?
one operating, again, I'd have to understand your definition of operating a business. You know, my definition of operating business is that's where all of your equipment is stored, all your things are coming back daily to. That's not the case. Number 2, the parking area and hard service, recreational vehicles, dump wagon. So the dump trailer is not there. That's on the site. The work trailer cannot be parked on the property. I don't understand that because I see enclosed trailers everywhere in Mayor, but also clearly parked in the easement. So we are not parking in the easement anymore. That's been changed. We don't have a dump trailer in the driveway and the skid loader's in the backyard waiting to be used. But if that doesn't give a clear definition of these things being resolved, then I would say, I don't know. I can tell you that number 3 has not been probably taken care of other than picking weeds in the front yard.
Skid loaders in the backyard just for the project you're working on.
Yeah.
When that gets done, it'll be out.
Yeah, when it gets done, it goes back there. And during the winter, I left it in the driveway because I would plow snow with it. So if, you know, again, if that's not allowed, where you can't have, you know, to me, it's easier to fire up a Bobcat and go jump in a heated cab and plow my driveway than, you know, to pull out a snowblower or use a shovel. But if the city doesn't want that, I mean, then it can go somewhere else.
When do you think number 3 can get resolved?
Like I said, I would like to be, you know, the general consensus for putting down seed and sod is that you got to put it down before, you know, November 1st. So my plan is to start, like, finish the patio, and then as soon as we're not working on that, and I know that's not going to just get disrupted, then start working on tilling the grass and removing the weeds and getting everything so we can do that. So I would say number 3, I would like to have actual grass by, you know, November 1st.
Is there anything you can do to the weeds before? Can you cut them down? Can you,
mow them?
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I can, I actually don't even own a mower. I pay the neighbor to mow our yard, but, but I can take the skid loader and we have a tilling rake that we're going to use for the seed and sod. So, I mean, we can just go back drag that and rip it out. But then again, it's just still going to be a pile. I mean, eventually it's got to get removed, but my plan wasn't, when I was ready to actually put down the grass seed, that's when I was going to take care of it.
But there is a compost site that he could take them to.
True. So we could haul that out, but yeah, that was my plan at the time. I was probably going to actually bring the dump trailer back, unfortunately, and then, you know, tear everything up and then haul it and throw it in that and go compost it, or.
I think at a minimum, we need to have them cut down.
Okay.
They're well overgrown.
Yeah, that's fair.
They're, what timeline for that, for cutting them down and getting it hauled to compost?
Well, compost is open is it open on the weekends?
Saturdays.
Saturdays and Wednesdays.
So, I mean, I could do it Saturday over the weekend and get that taken care of. It's not an issue.
All day though, so.
Yeah, it's like open till noon or something. Okay. Yeah, so I could take care of that this weekend.
Any thoughts from council then? Does that resolve what we're looking for?
And I could get
For me, it's not necessarily that the stuff is there for a short time, but if you've been working on this project for 2 years and that stuff has been sitting there, that's kind of like not a real convenient time frame of 2 years to fix a patio or redo a patio.
Yeah.
That just over time, and then not addressing some of these issues by just mowing the weeds in the back, you know, to address them. We're not out looking for violations, but we definitely have to have ordinances to just make sure that the city looks nice.
Yeah, I
So,
get that.
I mean, if you have to bring a dump trailer in because you have it, I'm fine with that. But if you leave it there for weeks and that comes back every night, maybe that's an issue. And you're at home in the weekend, maybe Fridays, you have to bring it back to
Mm-hmm.
Silver Lake or
Mhm.
where you store the rest of your equipment.
Yeah, and certain, like I said, I'm okay with that. I mean, I try to not put anything in the street. I try to never, I try to keep everything on our driveway. That's kind of, if it's in the street, I always bring it back because I know no one really likes that. So, yeah, I'll just be moving forward. I'll just, be more diligent about getting stuff back and put away, I guess.
Yeah, and you just can't store things like that sweeper. Like, I'm thankful that you clean up the sand and the stuff so that it's safe for people walking or riding bikes.
Yep.
But unfortunately, you just can't
Yeah,
store it outside in the yard.
yeah, and I get that. I mean, so, and we can take, like I said, this weekend, we can take care of the sweeper. I can take care of the tarps and things like that. I can knock down the weeds and haul that stuff out and at least make an effort to address it before we get actual seed and sod down.
Do we have to pull permits for patios?
Yeah, you're supposed to come up and make sure that it's a zoning permit, that we look at the non-impervious surface. He said he'd been working with the city engineer about it, and I can't imagine that Dave didn't tell him about the non-impervious surface, but, yeah, you're supposed to, so that we know that you're back from the setbacks.
Yeah, I think we should. It'd be worthwhile to have the city take a look at that.
Yeah,
It is too big and we have too much hard surface where the water runoff is all based on how much can absorb or not.
yeah.
And if it's too much, it'll have to be pulled out.
Well, I mean, there's other options too, like put rain gardens in and put things that can absorb the water. I mean, my opinion is if it was a hill that was unusable and then you terrace it and you level it out so it can absorb water better and you're taking care of it with plantings and things, we already planned to put a rain garden up around it. And
It's just a heads up. It'd probably be worth your while just to double check with
Yeah.
the city to make sure.
yeah, well, I talked to, I mean, a year ago, I talked to the city engineer about the whole plan. So he came out and, because that was the initial, but they, something, so. But again,
Dave?
I looked at the wall. I haven't
Wall.
looked at anything impervious surface related.
Right. He's saying that you did the patio.
we didn't have a patio at that time.
Right. We just talked about the walls and making sure that the walls weren't going to cause
And we
issues.
really
related
need to
the
know how
pond.
big the patio is so that we can calculate the non-impervious surface to make sure that you're not over the required amount.
Okay, so you have what are the limitations on each lot?
35%.
35% you get, that's a maximum that you can have. And that's including your driveway
In your house.
in your house. So you look at the actual lot lines of your home
Correct.
and then you go from there.
You measure up the square footage of what everything is that's non-impervious,
Okay,
and you divide it by what the square footage of the lot is.
okay. So, I mean, that's
You
pretty,
want to calculate it
Yeah.
yourself, see where you're at,
that's pretty easy
but I
to
would
do.
appreciate, letting me know. It does.
Yeah, they go, most of them go in the pond.
Yeah, so that was my next question, because they all extend and meet in the back of the pond. So, just for argument's sake, well, I got you here. So let's say this patio is larger than what's acceptable. Isn't there resolutions with doing like rain gardens or catchment things for your plantings, so you're actually not even having anything run off? Or is that not considered?
No, this is more of a planning question, but if you're over on impervious surface, you'd have to apply for a zoning variance, go through the process, and if you got the zoning variance approved, then you could keep the extra hard cover. Part of that process, if you were allowed to keep it, might be those sorts of things that you're talking
Okay.
about, some sort of mitigation for that extra hard cover, but it would have to go through an approval process too.
But what's the hardship? There's no hardship, so then a variance can't be issued.
Let somebody else determine that.
Well, I mean, the other thing is too, is like,
There's got to be a hardship.
if there's a patio, does it, if it's a hard surface and it doesn't have like polymeric sand in the joints, but it's got, vegetation in the joints, is that still considered, does that change anything?
Be a planner question. I would have to
Yeah,
ask
I'm
John.
not sure that we
I don't know.
allow kind of a pervious paver or anything like that. I don't know what our ordinance says.
Okay,
I don't either.
all right, so,
Can help with that.
all right, I can reach out to them.
So is council good then with if we say a week, maybe next Monday,
Week for weeds.
we check, go check, make sure the weeds are taken care of and all this is resolved.
The sweeper,
November
Yeah,
1st.
yeah.
And the
yeah.
sweeper.
tarps in the
The
back.
sweeper, tarps, everything's cleaned up.
By next week, by
Is a
next
week-
Monday?
Is Monday soon enough? Do you
That's
want 10
fine.
days?
It doesn't, I mean, 10 days is great, fine. And because if there's something else comes up, if you can do 10 days, just do Monday, but I mean, whatever you want to do.
About 10 days if we can get it resolved.
So 10 days, September 1st then.
Yeah, so the Thursday, so like if you can't make it to the compost on Saturday, you can on
Yeah,
Wednesday.
Wednesday. Yeah, that'd be great, just in case something happens.
Mhm.
All right, we'll go from there then.
All right.
Thank you for coming in.
Well, yeah, thank you so much for coming in.
Yep. I'm gonna Take off then?
Yep, that's fine, thank you. All right, Luann, 6A2, resolution for pre-development grant application, Carver County CDA.
So at one of our EDA meetings, there was a presentation by the Carver County CDA about these community growth partnership initiatives that they have. And there's a pre-development grant and the EDA would like for Quas Properties, the property at 400 Ash Avenue North, for him to apply for that pre-development grant. Their Carver County CDA Growth Partnership Initiative Grant Program was created and funded in January of 2016, and its purpose was to assist cities with redevelopment goals. The goal of the program is to increase the tax base and to improve the quality of life in Carver County. And this grant can be used for a market analysis, concept development, site design, TIF analysis, blight analysis, soil testing, stormwater management, certified shovel-ready sites, or other pre-development activities. For this application, the funds could be used for concept development, which would be other pre-development activities. So the EDA is recommending that the City Council apply for the grant and pass the resolution. The amount of the grant is $7,500 with a one-to-one match of $7,500. The EDA is also recommending to match or to grant to the Quas Properties the $7,500 from their fund. And I'm requesting approval to apply for the grant and approval of the resolution. So he won't have to put up any funds for the development. In other words, he'll get $7,500 from the county, and the city EDA wants to put up the other $7,500 for him to be able to do the pre-development.
Because it's a matching.
This one's a matching.
That's the second one.
Second, what do you mean the second one?
Oh, that's the first.
The
one.
second,
first
the
one.
first one.
Okay.
Pre-development.
Redevelopment.
Yep.
All right, any other questions for Luann?
So if the county gives 5,000, then the EDA can only give 5,000?
I think, yeah, it's matching. Yep.
Okay.
Up to 7,500.
And do we think this is enough?
This is just to plan. This is just this will just help him. It doesn't mean that it's going to cover all his costs. He'll have to put some skin in the game too. But what the EDA was saying, that they were willing to help him with that, and the county's willing to help, and then he's going to also have to put some funds in there.
Has it been, how about the zoning?
Well, we have not met yet to do the purchase agreement. So I have talked to John already about doing the zoning, but we were going to wait until we had the purchase agreement and had that signed. And that will be included in the purchase agreement. And we are meeting with Brad on September 1st to negotiate or talk about the purchase agreement.
And talk about the actual sale date, right?
Yes, yes. And so once we have that, then we can move forward with the rezone and the comp plan amendment. But like I said, I've already made John aware of it, so he
Okay.
knows.
But the match is up to 7,500, so the county could come back and say you can have 2,500. We would match 2,500
Yeah,
or 5,000, and this just helps with the redevelopment plan.
right. So like his architectural drawings or yeah, those kinds of things that he'll do before construction.
And is it a cap of 7,500, a max of 7,500?
Yes, on this one, yes.
On this, okay.
I'll look for a motion to approve resolution 8-22-2022-25 and apply for the pre-development grant with the Carver County CDA.
I'll make
Moved.
second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Bless you. Now, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0.
These are all due by September 5th, so I'm going to have to work with Brad to get it done. I think he had it done. He's already had it, so. Okay,
6A3,
okay. The Mayor EDA is recommending to the Mayor City Council to support the Community Growth Partnership Initiative 2022 Development Grant Application for the property at 121 Ash Avenue North, or the OD Cell Building. It's where Tim Ose used to own. It's where the dog groomer was.
Oh.
That's the Odie Cell building, I believe.
Mhm.
Carver County CDA's growth, again, same thing, was established in January of 2016 and its purpose and what the grant can be used for. This application for the funds would be used for building rehab of the site. The EDA is recommending that the city council apply for the grant. There's no funds that the city will put forward for this. The amount of the grant is $100,000 with a 2-to-1 match. So that means he will have to match 2-to-1. So he will have to come up with $50,000. Staff's requesting approval of the resolution and the development grant application for 121 Ash Avenue North. So there isn't only my time that will be involved in this application to the county. And he may not get the full 100,000. And I checked with another EDA person, and I wasn't under the impression there was any match until I did some research and was looking into this and found out there was a 2-to-1. So the applicant doesn't even know there's a 2-to-1. So I have to talk to him about that too.
All right, I'll look for a motion to approve Resolution 8-22-2022-26, Development Grant Application for Carver County CDA.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? All in
Yeah, Luann, is there a concept on the development of this or?
So this will, he's already had some people in there. No, there isn't a concept for it. But he's already had some people in there because he's had the roof replaced, but now he needs to do some repairs to the interior because there's water damage from the roof. Is that true, right, Chad? Do you remember? Yeah.
Yeah.
So he wanted to use it for some
And
interior
you wanna Put the
remodel.
original windows back in and stuff.
Yep. Yeah. Okay.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
I,
Opposed, same sign.
I could probably go back to the
Motion carries 5-0.
agenda, huh?
6A4, approval of office hours for September 19th through 20th.
So, Mr. Mayor, council members, the city clerk has requested and been approved for the dates of September 15th through the 30th for vacation. Personnel committee met and they're proposing the following coverage during that time. So I would just come in and be here, since I'm going to be gone Monday, Tuesday, the 12th and 13th, I'd be here on the 10, 11, 12, 13, 14th. Did I do this wrong? I would be here for Wednesday, the 14th, though, 8 to 4:30, and the 16th, that Friday, 8 to 4. Well, I'll do my regular hours on Wednesday, the 14th, because Janelle will still be here. But then on Thursday, when she's not here on the 15th, I will work 8 to 4:30, and then Friday I can come and be here from 8 to 11, and I won't go over my 28 hours. The next week, I'm just proposing to be here 7 hours each day, which gives me the 28, and be closed on Friday. The following week after that, I would be here 7 hours on Tuesday and Wednesday. Monday is a council meeting, so I would adjust my hours for Thursday to be appropriate. So if the council meeting is 9 hours, then I would only be here 5 on Thursday. Unless you want me to be here the full 7, which I could do too. I mean, last week I didn't go over 20, I did 24 and a half hours is all. So there'd be some catch up, but we can also talk about it. I can put it on the agenda for the 26th and you can tell me what you want me to do for that Thursday too, if you want me to.
I don't mind closing, and we're closing early. We've been doing it
On Thursday? Okay.
for staffing issues, and
Okay.
we haven't had any concerns or issues, so yeah, I'm okay with not being open.
So I went down to the bank one day to make a payment for the city, and on the door it said, closed, use the drive-through. Closed due to staffing shortages, use the drive-through. So can we post that on this door? Closed due to staff shortages, please use the drive-through.
The only thing that I would say is.
They'll
we
be
should-
calling you.
We should estimate Thursday's hours in advance so that they can be posted, right? Like,
You want to do noon?
I was gonna
Eight
say,
to
do
noon
something
one?
like that,
Yeah.
even if we don't hit your 28th or you're a little bit over. Like, I would just rather be able to post this in
Okay.
advance so
I
that the
agree.
citizens know. So
Okay.
just pick a time and
Well, tell me, what do you want it to be?
It's fine.
noon's
They
fine.
can go through the drive-through too, but okay.
It's fine.
Okay, that's what we'll post it as.
All right, I'll look for a motion to accept the hours for the last 2 weeks of September.
Make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. City council reports. Councilmember Malender, anything to report on?
Nothing to report.
Councilmember,
Nothing.
thank you. Councilmember McNeely.
No.
Councilmember Held.
We discussed all the EDA stuff in the meeting, so no.
And I have nothing to report on either, so Luann, I'll let you, for other business, go ahead. and
For the
report.
budget meeting. So because I'm going to be gone on September 12th and because we still haven't gotten our market values from the county yet, which I'm hoping they're coming. And I did provide you with a budget, a little bit of a budget summary that I have put together that was in your packet. I would like to do a budget meeting if that works for you guys sometime, maybe that first week of September after Labor Day. One of those days.
So the week of the 5th.
Yeah, so maybe the 6th, there won't be a planning commission meeting,
Nope, that's parking.
but that's Park and Rec, right?
7th, I'm booked.
How about Monday? Oh, that's all.
Labor Day.
What about next week? If we
Or
can-
next week, yeah, yes. We could do next week if, yeah,
What about next Monday?
the
I would
29th,
Prefer not.
Tuesday.
30th?
I could do Tuesday.
So
All
the,
right,
the
Works.
the 30th?
Tuesday.
all right.
No?
Wednesday. Keep going.
How about
I can do Wednesday.
Wednesday?
I can do Wednesday.
Peggy? Wait now.
Looking, one calendar's clear. Yes, the 31st will work.
Okay,
Perfect.
for budget meeting, 6:30? Okay,
It can be earlier for me.
you tell me what time do you guys want it?
Do you guys
I can do earlier.
Does 6:30
I
work
could
for
do,
everyone?
I could do earlier.
Like 5 o'clock?
Fine by
What
me.
works for Peggy? Is 5 too early?
5's early.
5:30?
It's the last day of the month. 6.
6? All right.
Okay, we can do
6 o'clock.
6.
Okay. All right. And then the other thing that I was thinking about today on my drive here was I thought it would be, maybe would be nice to do a little open house for your new city administrator. And that first week of October when he's due, or maybe the second week, we could send out invitations to all the board and commission members, run an ad in the paper, come and meet the new city administrator, have a cake, coffee, water, stuff to drink, and do it like from 4 to 6. Like a little meet and greet so people can get to meet him. And the business owners, if they want to come, I mean, we can send to businesses and let them know that it's going to happen.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
I think we should do it the second week of October.
You want to do it the second week? Okay.
But you would be able to coordinate all of that, or someone, not himself, to coordinate.
Yes.
Don't put on there, come meet the new administrator, come meet Nick, because remember, he
Yeah.
doesn't want to be called that.
Okay.
All right,
So you wanna do it the
you'll reach
second-
out to him and
I want to make sure he's
that's
okay with it
what
too.
he
Yep.
wants to do. Okay.
Second week of October though. Okay.
Perfect.
Sounds good.
All right. That's all. Nope. That's all I had.
I'll look for motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. We are adjourned. So with that, we'll jump right into the work session.
Okay.
We'll call to order and discussion of annexation and improvements on 62nd Street.
So, Mr. Mayor, council members, I've had several phone calls about the very last lot of this development. The homeowner at the end of the street is wanting to sell that vacant lot, and there isn't any way to provide sewer and water service. Back in 2016, we had the same discussion when Lippies came to us because they wanted sewer to their property, and we ended up not doing it. So sewer and water are not available to the lot unless the city were to bring water and sewer down that 62nd Street. So in order to complete a project, the area would need to be annexed into the city. We do have an orderly annexation agreement with Waconia Township, which does require the township's approval. So the reasons to really annex it is the property owner can't sell that lot, for one. Of the 6 septic systems that are out there, 3 of the systems are 20 years old and older, so either they're going to be putting them in or they're not soon. And the property is totally surrounded by city property. So if we didn't have an orderly annexation agreement, we could annex it in by ordinance. It would be the way we would do it. So I guess those things are up for discussion. I did provide you tonight with the updated numbers for water too and sewer. And Dave's here to address anything that you might have.
Can you pull up the county map?
Yep.
There, please?
Okay. I'm getting closer. All right. I couldn't have two of them up at once, or I was gonna have it up for you, but. Come on, go down. Come on, not that one.
You're still on 4th Street.
Yeah, I know I am. I gotta go this way. And then I'm gonna have to go the other way. That's okay.
There you go.
I guess I could have just put in an address, couldn't I? Okay. All right, and then let me zoom back in a little bit.
You know,
Yeah, or out, and that's too far. And that's not far enough. I hate this thing. Can you tell? Okay.
all the way.
Oh, Chad, there we go. So yeah, there's one more property down here at the bottom it's right here. And there,
Which is the property that they want to sell?
Right.
this one right here,
And it's in city limits.
yes.
And they can't sell it because it has no sewer water?
Right, there isn't any way to get sewer and water to them.
And it can't go off of 4th Street? Is that
That's
4th
Martini.
Street, like,
There's no easement, is there?
Well, you can get water and sewer to it. How much is it gonna cost and who's gonna pay for it are the questions. And are you going to do it one property at a time, or are you gonna put in a system that eventually serves everybody? Those are the issues.
I think we have to do something. We can't expect someone to have a property and not be able to sell it. So something's got to happen, I think. This doesn't fit.
That property is still in the city because my parents were alive. They own both of those properties in there, in the city of Mayor.
They were or were not.
They are in the city.
Yeah.
Right,
Yep.
yes.
So why does that lot in there, and why would that have to be annexed?
It wouldn't have.
That one doesn't.
Well, if they want to annex in are the rest of them,
Oh.
because, and then we can do a project down the street, down 62nd Street to service all those other, to service those lots.
okay, so Dave, I have a question. If we do city sewer and water, do we need to do curb and gutter, pave the road? How big does this project become?
Well, and more good questions. Right now it's a gravel road that, is it private or do you take care of that right now? Correct? So, do you mind if I just stand up?
Yeah.
We're better at pointing. So, just so everybody's clear, there's water and sewer right here. We have an easement that comes up this property line. There's a manhole here and there's water stuff down to here. And this property right now is served with sewer with a force main that comes up this easement. So there is a sewer line right here, but it's a private sewer line. It's not public. So.
What does that mean?
And
I mean,
who
I
pays-
understand
so
public and private.
The Drew
It's-
property owns that line.
So they paid for the line to
They
hook
paid
up.
For the line to put in, they're the only ones hooked up to it.
So now, what if a Drew owns the property that's being sold and says, hey, you can tie into that?
Yeah, so the recommendation would be is you wouldn't allow a private sewer service to have two lines hooked up to it. They have to be separate. So if it was determined that the most efficient thing to do, and you wanted to allow it, is to hook into this line, the recommendation would be is at that point you make it a public line. take over ownership and maintenance of it so that you don't get in a situation where you're putting two properties, even though they might get along now, they might be related,
Right.
brother and sister, or father and son, whatever it is, someday that might not be the case. And now all of a sudden you have a plug in this line and you kind of put people in a bad spot as to whose problem is it. So
So-
we recommend as soon as they have more than one property served by that line, then the city would take it over, make it public.
That other lot is not city-owned, or it is? The one that has the private line, is that
Is that in the city
is that in the
limits?
city or not in the city?
Yes, yep, these are both in the city.
That was
Okay.
one of the requirements when they wanted to hook into the city water and sewer.
Okay, that
had
they,
to be
so
annexed.
it's from that house to Seventh
north.
Street.
So, This
Is not in city
is.
limits.
So do we know how old that line is and what the condition of that line is?
Yeah, it's not very old. How old the year was?
8 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what Nick's, his preference is that if we could sell the lot, we could hook up to that. If it's not sized properly, either could we make it sized properly, but I guess the people that buying in the lot would prefer to stay on, prefer to have a well.
Well, that's the second.
See, and so, yeah,
Part of
so
it.
the issues we're dealing with here, you have to sort through, is the long-term desire would be that all this is in the city. It has city water, has city sewer, has a city street that the city takes care of to serve these residents like you would serve any other resident in town. The issue gets to be is if you start trying to take this one at a time and take the least path of resistance to just hook this up to water, no sewer, or no water loop, then how do you, at what point do you kind of
Yeah, when that,
evacuate the system? How do you get a road down here? So it is, and some of this is just, what are you trying to accomplish with this? It's not a question of whether or not you can get water and sewer down here. You already have sewer there. You'd have to get some easements. You'd have, recommendation would be you make that public. You'd have to extend water down there. Again, easements, to understand what you have to take care of. Not the ideal way to serve that, but it can be done. But then it kind of leaves the question then as well, then what happens with this?
And we know now, based on our ordinance and our code, we don't allow wells
No.
for water. That cannot,
Right.
that cannot happen.
And yeah, the,
And with wellhead protection and all that, yeah.
you want to allow a new well, and what we've said in the past is we want to extend, well, which we've already made the exception, but we want to give sewer service without water service. In the case of that, where we extended the force main,
Yeah.
obviously that's on a well.
And that, there's 3 of those properties out there that the septic is more than 20 years old. So it's just a matter of time before they're gonna have to replace their septic tanks anyway.
So the options we've talked about in the past, and there's a million variations to this, right? But what we've talked about is there's sewer manhole up here, there's water here. We've talked about extending gravity sewer down here to allow everybody to hook up. We've talked about then water is also here. The water system from kind of an overall service and maintenance standpoint, we'd like to pull that down here, tie it back in here. So then you have a water loop. You can serve it from both directions.
Because Fieldstone isn't looped, for one, right?
Fieldstone is
Or-
not.
And that would create,
itself.
that would help
So
create a
that would,
loop.
that would create that loop. So from an overall system standpoint, we want to do that. What we've talked about though is that this gets pretty expensive. This, and just talking the water and sewer, $300-some thousand. The issue has always been that, one, these are fairly big lots, so the density is low here. And you really don't have anything on this side of the road that would benefit from that water. Just from a service standpoint, this is city-owned, this is Mare Lutheran High School. So it gets to be the question then is if you took this and you treated it and said, well, this is all new service, it's serving These properties benefit from it 100%. Assess the cost 100%, it becomes very expensive because you only have a handful of properties to split those costs up to. So the other thing we've talked about, kind of Luann talked about, there are some systems advantages, at least from a water standpoint, getting that loop in there to facilitate this happening, recognizing there's an overall benefit to kind of making this at some point not be an issue anymore, bringing these properties in the city, that the city would contribute to the cost of the project. And I think the cost that we've looked at for, we've said 40%. So kind of, we've run the numbers with the idea, if the city paid for 40% of the project, you assess the other piece, the properties, what does that look like? And so that acknowledges that there's some kind of benefit from a city standpoint, but a little bit more than half of the project cost will be assessed to the benefiting properties. Now, the other issue is, and it's already been mentioned, well, none of these properties are gonna be kind of in the same spot at the same time, where they're knocking on your door and asking for my septic needs to be upgraded, my well failed, whatever. So it's, the timing never really lines up well. So the other thing we've talked about is, can this be a city project put in, essentially the city then pays for it, is the bank for the project, and then you allow properties, when the need arises, to connect either water or sewer, that at that point you would be obligated to hook up to both, but the timing would depend on kind of the situation for each property, and at that point, you know, we basically deferred that cost until the time of hookup.
So that would be the trigger. Once one of those two fail,
Yeah.
if one or two fail and need to be replaced,
Need a new
then
well,
they
no,
must hook
time
up
to hook up the water.
for a preset amount.
Need a new mound, time to hook up the sewer, and they both come at the same time. Your assessment goes into effect. Again, the terms of that are
Yeah.
still up in the air, you know, it's, you pay for that for 10 years, 15 years, so on and so forth.
Right.
So that's, I think, in my opinion, as we've talked about this and just kind of going circles on this, it seems like the logical way for this to happen is that the city's gonna have to make some sort of a commitment and an investment in the system to make it, just make it feasible to happen.
If it creates that loop, that really would help our entire system. I would be completely for the city actually paying a portion of this. And then I liked the idea of when the homeowners were needing that to then hook up to it. And it's not like you have to do it right now and this is how much it is. It would be more, it would allow the ones that, like, what was it, 8 years ago or 6 years ago when we had this conversation, 2016? And we didn't move forward just because everybody was in different spots and we just weren't ready to,
And just for perspective,
yeah.
I was looking through, you know, the old files, trying to find figures, old cost estimates, whatever. I mean, at least back in 2010, this, we've been talking about this in one form or another. So it's,
Assuming the city would take it on, what would be the water and sewer hookup charges? Do we have any idea what
What they are now. What are they, like 2,800 each?
No.
No.
4,500 each.
49
Yeah.
a piece.
Yeah.
and then in addition though, then the assessment and, you know, if we just, again, and this isn't a.
We just
this
did
isn't a
Fifth Street and
What did we have here? If you did if under the, well, if it was 100%, we figured that it's basically $74,000 a property. If you did it, where the city paid 40%, it's $44,000 a property. But just for water and sewer
But now, just
assessments.
in that lot,
plus the
that,
connection fees.
but that lot that we're looking at right now and that they're looking to sell right now, you said water and sewer is possible to be brought there. What's the cost gonna be for that homeowner that buys that?
Have not looked at.
Because I mean, if somebody wants to build, we shouldn't deny them that fact, because you can still tie the loop once you decide to do the street project and annex the rest, correct? My understanding, if we can get it there, then we can tie the loop in later.
You gotta get
Right, but Dave said that's possible.
But it'd come from the north.
Correct. No,
bring
it'd
down
come right
here
there.
through this
Oh, you
easement.
bring the water.
Because sewer's already there.
Sewer's already here, but the water would have to be.
You couldn't bring, could you bring the water to one or two properties like that in a project? Would that work?
Why not? If you're gonna loop in later.
It's kind of a, not ideal, you have a dead end.
Well, I know it's not ideal, but
Yeah, no,
for the purpose of the property being sold and which by rights they should be able to, and we shouldn't, I don't think we should assess $70,000 right at this point.
Disclaimer, we haven't looked at any of this in detail.
Right.
But from a high.
If it's
level
possible.
Perspective,
Right.
yes, that it would be possible to have a dead end water main to go down there, and.
That could be
and then-
tap future for the loop, correct?
And then you have,
I mean, the longer we wait, the more expensive it's gonna be, unfortunately, just on
Well, yeah, and
life too. And I'm not, yeah, but
I just don't
These
think,
properties are totally surrounded by city property. They should be annexed into the city. It doesn't even make sense
Well,
for
I-
them not to be in the city.
Do we have a feel from the residents if they want to be?
I have no idea.
they're all here, most of them.
Be a resounding no. I believe, right?
We want to be the new owners for that end lot.
But you're already part of the city. You're already part of the city. Like you're not part, you wouldn't be township.
But that's why I'm saying we shouldn't stop their project and process because it is a city lot and try our level best to bring,
now, and here's, not necessarily, has to be worked out. If you develop this lot, this is a private road that stops right here. I don't, makes no difference to me if they use that road every day. Or how they work out the maintenance of it or whatever, but.
would the owners have
you're
to sign?
adding
Yeah, I know what
another
you're saying,
property to what
Yep.
right now is a
right?
private road. And I don't know that we would allow that without the understanding of some sort of an access easement, something that
Right,
guarantees that they have access. Just getting in water and sewer doesn't mean that they have a way to their street without crossing on
Right.
private property.
right, I see what you're saying.
So, but my question is if we do this and they're looking at 40,000 or 70,000 at the time of hookup plus the 4,900, we still haven't addressed the street.
Oh,
So
my goodness.
then you have, how much is curb and gutter gonna cost? And
Well, and so to your point, right, that's why when you buy a lot that's this big and if it had city street, water and sewer, it's $150,000 lot.
Right, because the lot's so
Right?
big.
Because you paid for the water that's there, the sewer that's there, the street.
That was the
that's there,
problem we
all
had
those
with Fifth
things
Street.
Are built into the cost of the lot. We're coming and adding those afterwards, but the costs seem a lot kind of going, kind of now retroactively going. But again, if you pictured it from a standpoint of, if that was a vacant lot in Fieldstone and it was that big, it would be an expensive lot.
yeah, but I think we've got to consider that. Like, we have to not just talk about sewer and water. We've got to talk about the maintenance of that street and getting it. I mean, I don't know that we have any other gravel roads that we're maintaining inside
Well,
of city
and I don't
limits.
think anybody right now is proposing that we would ever take that gravel road over. Even if you provided water and sewer, until it's built to city standards, you wouldn't take over maintenance. of
So
that
how do you annex the property into the city limits and not have owned the road?
Well, you can have a private street in the city.
Yeah, I suppose if you think about it, they're all over the
Yeah.
place.
But again, from the standpoint of, well, no, we want this to be like any other property in there, then it should have
So,
city street and all those things, but again,
so do we have to get the homeowners to sign off saying it's okay for them to use the street?
I would say that we want to allow, and this might be more of a zoning question, we'd ask John, but that you wouldn't allow this without some sort of an access easement or agreement that we know that they have a way to get to their lot.
There is a driveway maintenance agreement for for these guys, and that lot's listed on there, they all have.
So if that's already in place, then maybe.
Then you should be good there.
Years ago, they got all signed off, big fire, Alpine.
But,
So
well,
we-
that should take care of that then. So then bringing the water and sewer down would not be the issue in cost.
I think the major cost would be putting a road in.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That would make the water and sewer look like nothing,
Right.
because that's just black dirt with gravel on top of it.
Oh,
It's not wide enough. I mean, it's
Right,
wide
that-
no, yeah, you gotta do like a, what, 70-foot wide road down there? No, 60?
No, I mean, we put in probably 28 foot wide.
Oh, that ain't bad
back to
then.
back.
But still,
Back to curb,
it's
back
still,
Back of curb to back of curb.
right.
Surface.
Yeah, would be a typical city street.
Oh, my.
There's a pond on each side of the road there, so that's like swampland right there.
Yeah, there'd be a lot of backfilling and, yeah.
Put a road in there would be, water and-
I think we really look into bringing it down and stubbing it for now so that that lot's useful to
Is it-
somebody.
Are you gonna pay for that as a city for one lot? When
I wouldn't, I
you really should do an
the
overall
homeowners
project
would have to
for,
pay for it.
yeah.
They want it, they have to pay for it. If we're not gonna annex in the rest of that,
Just like they did
Yeah.
on the other one
I have no problem with the city helping pay for it because it's such a huge expense
as a project.
as a project. I mean, Fifth Street, I mean, yes, we're not talking the same numbers maybe, but some of the streets on House on Fifth Streets, I mean, they were up in the 30s
Yeah,
for
but
that project.
That was how, last year?
Last year.
But we came in,
They were 20.
they were,
28, I
I was
think
gonna
was the
say,
highest.
it went down 6,000 to 8,000.
Well,
per
that's because
property.
we paid
But
more.
remember though, too, that was assessing both sides of the road and 100-foot lot.
No, I'm
Right.
just, I'm just doing it as
Yeah.
a, say that like, we paid for part of that to be done.
Right.
The homeowners, yes, it's an
Typically,
expense.
if it's reconstruction, the city has a cost associated with it. If it's new, you would assess it 100%. This is, again, unique from the standpoint of just the
Well, yeah, 'cause some of these guys are gonna be looking at
feasibility of a good stuff.
easily $150,000 probably for a new road, water and sewer.
So I have a question.
I'm guessing, of course.
What numbers?
So he actually owned two parcels. So does that mean we would be doubly assessed?
Based on
Well,
the,
your
We would
hookups.
more than likely, and we haven't gone that far, but we would more than likely do it on a.
frontage, foot frontage.
For the
Per
street,
foot.
we would do it on a per foot basis.
But you'd only pay for one sewer and one water hookup.
Right, but it would be double because we have two parcels.
Well, yeah, because you pay for the square footage along the road.
Because the parcels aren't the same.
So like corner lots in the city, they sometimes are double assessed because you're on two streets. So there were homeowners that paid for it in 2010 for the one side, and then in 2021, they paid for the other one because they were a corner lot.
I mean, you know, if you were to do this, you have to do a feasibility study that I'm assuming that you would assess this. I mean, if they were, well, either way, you would be assessing these property. It would be a public project that you would assess the cost for, so you'd have to do a feasibility.
And I'd be open to looking at that assessment percentage of like what the city would cover and what, knowing just the magnitude of the project and the benefit that the city could have by annexing them in.
The other question then gets, if that's what we do, again, we would look to make the existing sewer public. We would be bringing water down to here. I think the water pulls this property in.
It's in.
No, I mean paying for it, paying for the water because you're bringing it to the front door of this property at the same time.
She's talking about an overall project.
I was just looking at overall.
The overall, yeah.
Because I mean, it just, this is gonna be a perpetual issue, and we solved the one problem with the house, and now we're gonna solve the next, and it's like then the next, and then, so it's like, we just wanna have an overall like idea of what it is. I mean, we could wait and say, well, we're gonna do this in 10 years, and so everybody's just preparing for it. And have,
But I
you
would
know,
say then what we,
but then you're gonna, your
Correction.
costs are gonna be even more.
I'm trying to think, it just needs to be petitioned. If you need a petition to do the study, or if you can just order it on your.
Well, until it's annexed in, we probably don't want, we want to have to see what's going to happen. Get that taken care of first before we do any feasibility study.
Well, but in the meantime, you got this. So what do you do with that?
Could you put some numbers together on what it would take to get water and sewer to that, just that one? Or the two? So at least then the property owner and anyone potentially to purchase it will know, having a rough idea.
I think that's the road to go now.
So when you say all the property owners signed for the maintenance of that road, like you guys all pay, you take care of it yourself? Okay. And then, but who pays for the gravel and the diesel? Okay, so that would include those two lots that are city owned already currently pay,
They're in the city.
that are in the city limit are currently pay?
Usually it gets plowed, for, somebody will plow it, one of us will plow it. Nobody charges anything for that, because they have our own driveway anyway. And there's a couple skid loaders here, so the whole road gets plowed every time it snows by somebody.
So there's not really any exchange of money.
People just,
Neighbors helping neighbors.
Yeah,
Right.
we do all gravel on it, then, okay. Everybody kind of pitches in for that.
I'm just curious how your agreement works, because let's say you guys all sell and move on, and then you got new people that don't have this old school agreement,
Well,
and you've got two people on the end that now pretty much like are on an island.
So one, I'd like to see what it could take to get water and sewer to that property, so the property owner can sell it. But I do believe on another project, we need to start looking at annexing those lots in. I mean, we've been kicking this down the road for 15 years. Eventually, it's got to get done. I mean, we can't keep waiting, and we just got to do it one of these days. And like I say, put in the road and the water and sewer and everything, and we be the bank. And when people tie in, they tie in. But eventually, it's got to happen. We just keep kicking it down the road, and it is surrounded by completely by city.
Yeah, and the longer we wait, I mean, there's three sewers over the age of 20. So we say we're going to wait 5 years, and next year someone's sewer goes out and they got to put it in, and then they get to pay for it again when they have a brand new septic.
And that's what we don't want. And that's why we've been kicking it down,
Right, but they wouldn't have to tie in until their sewer was failed.
For reference, does anyone know what a new mound system costs?
About 25,000, I think.
I was gonna say
Okay.
20.
So when we're talking, $50,000 or 70, I mean, if
Yeah, and a new well isn't cheap, none.
things fail, they're gonna be in it for that much also.
Right.
My well went out. It cost me $4,000 to put the well back in to have water. People don't realize, they think just because they're in the city and they have to pay a big assessment, you live out in the country, and if you end up replacing your septic tank or replacing the well, you're at those assessed value numbers. I mean, you're just paying it at one time in a big lump sum. Is the difference. It all costs.
Yeah, so there are two different conversations. One's the annexation, that's
Right.
be a big conversation. But like I said, Dave, if you can get some rough numbers on what it would.
Yeah, that won't be difficult to
property,
do.
those
It's,
two.
yep, if,
For the annexation, would it cost them any more than, if they want to hook up to city sewer and city water when the time comes, is it gonna be out of the ordinary, because they're gonna be doing out of, extraordinary cost besides the actual permitting, the 4,900, the 4,800?
yeah, the assessment, which is,
Like how much per lot?
That if
It's either
at 100%, it's
40 or
74,000. If city pays 40%, it's 44,000.
You're not gonna have anybody in favor of being annexed unless that happens.
They don't have to be in favor of being annexed. We can do it without.
That was kind of my point too, with the septic system, you're gonna be in for 25 or 30 grand
Already.
to replace your septic system. So that's,
75 is 25.
But it's 45, he's saying.
Yeah, and that's where the discussion about the city
But that's not.
having to probably pay a portion of it to make it go for that exact reason.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, that 44,000 turns into.
Well, we can talk numbers, but we don't
100,000?
know the real numbers.
Right.
So we know it's a lot of money. I am not in favor of the homeowners paying 100% of this. I feel like it would be a benefit to the city. It would be a lot of benefits to both parties to some degree. I know you probably don't think so because you're kind of like living in the country, but you're like you've got the benefits of the city. So the other thing we talked about, and I don't want to throw it out there, is we talked about possibly doing the property tax, where you, what's the
We're doing
wording?
abatement.
An abatement where you wouldn't pay city property taxes for a period of time, and that would also help you recoup some of the money that you had to pay for the
Assessment.
assessment. That was one other idea thrown out there. So I feel like we can definitely work and think of some very creative ways to make it a little bit more affordable.
I agree.
But the longer and longer we wait, the more and more expensive everything just costs, which everybody knows that.
Yeah, and I mean, and I know Luann's been talking to your city attorney, but you know, obviously there is no right of way to build a road right now. There is no easement to put water and sewer, and you know, those have to be part of the calculation to figure out how do those things come to be to make it all work.
But if we agree to pay part of the cost, that can be for the easement, right?
Correct, yeah. I'm just saying.
And maybe,
Back to the
right,
city having to come to the table on this, you're not gonna get property for free to put your water and sewer in.
no. But if we agree to pay part of the, instead of 100%,
Right.
that should take care of the assessment. The other thing is, what would we assess ourselves for that lot? Maybe that has to be looked at. If you assessed everybody 100%, what would it cost to assess that on a foot? And then that becomes the city's contribution to the project too.
Yeah, no, there's, you
Lots
know,
of,
at the end of the day, you know, you're to a certain extent trying to find something that makes sense. Taking all this into, well, we have property there, there's some benefits to the system to do, and so there's some logic as to why the city would contribute to this. And at the end of the day, you're trying to find a spot where it feels like the value that's being provided matches what the assessment and the cost of this project to the property owner is. I mean, you know, those two things need to balance themselves out.
And that's
Make
what
it
we
work.
did for Fifth Street. We looked at it, the original, based on our ordinance for, that was extremely high per home. And we went and we made the numbers a little bit more reasonable so that it wasn't astronomical. Because I think the first numbers were in the 40s for some of the properties. I'm just
Yeah, and
trying
I
to
don't
give you
remember.
some,
But
like,
yeah,
we try to work with.
if you're assessing
homeowners.
it, the assessment
Was
can't exceed the benefit that's being provided.
correct.
Right? So that's.
I think we got a lot
What it
more
is.
meetings in front of us, a lot
Yes.
more numbers. But I think the main focus here is getting water and sewer to that property. And can they build? Can they get moving on this project?
at least get some numbers and let them
Right.
make decisions.
Yeah.
And I think we can help with that.
Yep.
Yeah, because it's not fair to Nick to not be able.
Which
No.
I think we know, because we're under purchase agreement and there's other, there's concerns about timeline for us.
Well, I'm sure Dave could have numbers.
Well, you can have numbers, again, if you're gonna assess it, you have to go through the 429 process, so that's gonna take a while. Now, kind of theoretically, you could give the thumbs up, thumbs down based on what you're hearing, or some assurances as to kind of the way you're leaning, but you still, you have to run through the same process you did with your street project. You have to,
Just for that one lot?
yep,
Oh, wow.
if you're gonna assess it. Now, the timeline changes a little bit if it's 100%. If the benefiting property
He's 100%.
is agreeing to pay for it,
Can we do numbers each way?
Well, it would just be our assessment policy, correct? Or
and the
no?
assessment policy would say it's brand new, 100% assessed.
100%.
So if we just put theirs in so that the property can be sold, they have to pay 100% of it because there's no reason the city would pay any portion of it. So it may be to their benefit to have us approve the whole project and then only be assessed. I mean, they've got a really small lot compared to some of the other lots when you talk about square footage.
Yeah, their frontage isn't gonna be hardly anything.
Well, yeah, if you're, from a street standpoint.
Right.
That's how you usually do assessments, right, on the street, like, you're not.
We've done it both ways, you know, a very common way is do it by a front foot basis, and the idea would be that, well, the bigger your lot, the more value that's there, that kind of proportionally it works out. The water and sewer, you know, a lot of times, at least in my mind, it makes sense just do it on a per lot basis. Everybody's getting one connection for water, one sewer, so the benefit's really the same. Again, different ways we could look at that.
So those larger lots could almost, some of them could be subdivided in a small, they could have 2 lots. So if that's the case, and so say now they don't ask for that, but then they come in later and ask for it, and we've already assessed the properties, are they gonna be able to get their assessment at half? Or is it, we don't give them another hookup? You know what I mean? Because if it was counted as another hookup, it would have been another division and everybody else would have paid
Well,
less.
right, I mean, no, I mean, I would say at future, if somebody subdivided their lot,
Well, you're getting annexed into the city, so there's different rules, but.
Right.
Like, there,
Yeah.
you don't have a lot of road frontage on these things, like that one lot's got a total pond in front of it, you're not getting to that unless you build a bridge or something. Right. I don't, a lot of them don't
Or you
lay out-
share a driveway, you do a shared driveway agreement with that property
They
owner.
don't lay out well.
Subdivide, no.
but I mean, I think given the circumstances, given everything we know right now, I think you would divvy it up based on current ownership and lot lines. I
I mean,
don't,
and it might not be a bad thing to pass John, just to ask him,
if it was a
And if-
20,
if it was in the city, could these be divided out? Could there, and let him give us an opinion about those lots that are larger lots? Because that wouldn't be fair to the rest of everyone else. If one of the larger lots came in and then asked for another hookup, and so they only pay 45,000. Everybody pays 45,000, but they ask for another hookup. Now they've just got another hookup for half that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. If you're doing it on a per lot basis, if you did it by
but they
foot,
also gave up half of their property to make it happen, so you got.
but it would have been one more property to divide it all by if they could do that.
So if they've
And
already
my
been,
guess is we're not gonna know that at the time we do this, so.
No.
and if they've already been assessed the 45, that means all they're paying is the hookup fees, right? I mean, you're not gonna reassess.
No, right, but that's what I'm
So-
saying. If those lots could be, then maybe you somehow the assessment's different. Maybe it's done on a per foot basis instead of on a per lot basis.
My opinion is the only way this is gonna happen is to make it as simple and feasible as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, because once it's running through there, it doesn't matter if you put 18 in there. Per city code, it's just a new hookup, which is $4,900 because it's already running there.
But the lot paid more for the pipe to run by, and they aren't buying into the pipe that runs
But
by.
again,
I'm
from
just
the city
saying,
standpoint, we don't care, I
Okay.
would say. We don't care. That's between the property owners. If they want to fight about that, then let them. But from our standpoint, we treat this as, this is the private contribution of this, and how it gets divvied up, I would say we don't care. That would be my opinion.
The houses are situated on those lots. I don't think there's any way any of those lots could ever be broken up anyway.
Well, I would say never. I would never say never. The question would be, to Luann's point, is would we be smart enough, or is there anybody that's kind of on the verge of doing that would factor into how we're trying to do our math right now?
Yes, several times.
No, I understand.
The second lot probably could be, and that's what I'd say, would probably could be the only one. And
If somebody came in here tomorrow and offered you, or made you an offer you couldn't refuse, they could buy that whole thing, tear it down and put in apartments. I don't know, so I mean, it's, again, we're based on your understanding of kind of the way you use the property now. Could it change in the future? I don't know, but I would say that it's a big piece of property that a lot of different things could happen to it over time.
Speculate all day, but once we get to the point, if we're gonna do that project, then we can address some of those. We can
Right.
say it all,
True,
right?
yeah, that's true, that's right,
We don't even know if we're gonna do the project.
that's true.
Well, so what I would suggest then is, kind of seems like first step is to just understand, if you were to entertain the idea of getting water and sewer down to serve that lot on the south end, what does that look like? If it looks like that is a route that you would be interested in pursuing, again, assuming that this then would be a public project that would get assessed, then we would have to do a feasibility study and start working out all the logistics to how that happens, and then how it gets set up that it doesn't, well, hopefully facilitates kind of the rest of this in the future. And, I mean, just off the top of my head, well, if you were to say you're paying 100% of this right now because you're the only one benefiting from it, that's fine. But then is that a credit towards a future assessment? Or there's some things we just have to think through.
Let's get that information. Next meeting, let's have another work session to discuss it then.
So to answer Mr. Butcher's question, this isn't a 2-week. I mean, he asked for a time frame, 6 to 8 weeks minimum.
I can't see water and sewer being in there this year, if that's the question.
But I think a decision is what you were asking
Yeah,
for.
number,
Yeah.
Like, what is are we all?
Yeah.
Can Nick move forward with this 2 lots? Hopefully the city puts that in, that would be good. We want to figure out the rest of the road, if they're for it, or if they agree. We're already annexed in, it's these other, you have to deal with their annexing.
Right.
Like the township has to agree to, they didn't want to last time, so I don't know where it's gonna go, because they kind of go off of what people are wanting on the street, so if it's not a favorable project, it's not, I don't think it'll happen. Unless you did like, eminent domain, but I don't know how that works.
I think there's still a lot of questions,
We'll start getting some numbers.
right?
But I'd like to see that lot project move forward, but it sounds like it's gonna be a hot minute.
I think we gotta wait for the numbers, like what it's gonna.
It would just be an estimate because we wouldn't have, you have to bid on it, right?
Well, yeah, but to your point is, I mean, just kind of getting you to understand is, okay, if these are the numbers, do you have a project or not? And I don't know what those numbers are. And again, and then that all assumes that, again, the recommendation would be a strong recommendation then that you wouldn't hook two properties up to a private service. So you have to work out ownership of that existing line too.
All right. Let's get some numbers together and then a list of things, punch list of what would have to happen. What would need to happen to make it work.
Good.
Perfect. Anything else, Nick, that you need right now?
Well, preferably sell the house because we're smoking on the house.
That's the timeline we're.
For this building, heating costs, electricity, everything
Yep.
else. So,
Yep. Okay. We'll see what we can get together then and we'll let you know. Perfect. Anything else on that then?
No, I think I have my direction.
I do have a question. Can we expect to be notified next time our properties being discussed? We were not notified that this was gonna be on.
Well, all our agendas are on the website. They're all.
Oh, no, they're not.
They weren't because the
well,
website
our
was
website
down.
crashed.
I
Is
was out there last week and it wasn't out there.
No, the city of Mayor website wasn't even
They post them
functioning
on
Tuesday.
Fridays.
We couldn't.
All the meetings are on
couldn't.
Mondays, agendas that get posted on Fridays.
I didn't get it posted because.
I know,
the
but I'm just saying,
website
but
was down.
in normal case.
I looked this afternoon, the last ones out there were 8
Minutes,
minutes.
not agenda, the
No,
council
there were
pack,
no agendas out there.
council packets are out there. I know they are because I post them out
But
there.
we should be receiving a letter if our property's being discussed.
We were just no action is taken here anyway.
No, but our property's being discussed.
That's,
We will expect to receive that.
all right. Then we'll move on to 3, discussion of golf carts.
it was Chad. It asked to
I've
have
just-
that on the agenda.
I've been seeing more and more throughout town, driving around. I think it's something we need to discuss to either
Guys.
allow it, permit it, or people can apply for permits.
Our last discussion on it was we weren't gonna allow them, and we don't allow them right now.
Right, and I've just been seeing more and more, so that's why I'm,
Maybe I need to notify the CSO and let them know.
The sheriff needs to be out there, the deputy, and they're not allowed.
right,
I'm not in favor of, and I don't think I was back then in favor of licensing and have them on the roads.
If we had a golf course in town, I
Right.
think it'd be different.
And I think was some of our discussions in it.
Yeah.
And some of the discussion was, it wasn't an issue. No one was coming to it, it wasn't a bunch of people.
right.
Hey, we got a petition now, we want golf carts, so just for a couple people, we weren't, that's my thoughts, but if,
I'm just seeing more and I, I don't know, I've even considered one myself.
are people.
No,
calling you
nobody's
and
co-
saying, I want to
nope.
be, oh,
Nope,
I don't,
just something I thought we should maybe talk about because I'm seeing more and more and more of them driving around. I mean,
Well,
I don't have
I mean,
anything
I'm not
against them.
interested in having golf carts on our city streets because you can't regulate them where the reason why we did UTVs, ATVs are not allowed, but UTVs are, was because you actually register them with the state and they have a license where a golf cart and dirt bikes and all that, are not allowed on city streets.
But you can, like other towns permit golf carts just with a permit and they allow them.
Right, but if they have a golf course.
Howard Lake have a golf course?
No,
And like I was having to be in town one time and,
No.
no, but the Bible camp does. I don't know the real name of it.
it was just,
The one right down the road from us, Your Haven.
Oh.
They're allowed.
Bible camp? What? I would never
I'm
call
not.
it that.
Yeah, they're allowed golf carts. But anyway, I happened to stop into Howard Lake and I think there must have been, 500 golf carts in town that day.
I'm not interested at this point in doing it. I don't think if we've had it coming to us, wanting us to do it, I don't see a need to make the change. I don't know other people's thoughts, and it's certainly something, Chad, if you disagree, it's something we can put on the agenda and discuss, and take action, but
I've just considered one myself because all the running around I do in town too, but I just, if there's not that many and we're not going to permit it, well then, not much we can do.
any other thoughts, any other comments?
No, I don't think we have the city staff to handle permits of a golf cart right now. And that's why we got rid of dog licenses because it doesn't really do anything. That's just my personal opinion.
All right, let's move to preliminary general fund.
So I provided you with the budget history, let me see if I can find it here, that I put together for for you. There's about a $216,000 increase in the general fund, but that includes the additional office staff and the additional public works person. Go down and find it for you. If I can flip it, if it'll flip for me. Go away, what's that about? Oh, no, I'm not connected. That's okay. So, let's see if I can flip it. The debt, I think, remains about the same.
I don't think you
Can
can
you-
really, I don't,
Can you go to view and rotate it that way?
What do you mean view?
Go up on the top,
Yep.
go
like it
up,
says file, edit,
Yep,
view.
rotate.
Rotate. There. Thank you. So here's your changes in if you can see along the edge. Where there's a negative, there's less money. The changes, there was a $6,000 increase in general government. You've got administrator, there's an increase. Some of the other ones, you can see the decreases and the increases in those funds. And the total on the bottom is a $216,000 increase. The debt remains about the same. You take on a little bit more debt with the fire station, that increases by almost $130,000 this coming year. As far as I could tell, that I left the sewer debt was 194,500. These numbers I took from the audit and from the CIP that your auditors have provided. That's where I got those from. And these capital outlay line items that you're going to budget for, they were in that CIP also. So your total for your, and I think this is right. I don't know if it's right. I've got 126. Well, I think the formulas are all still the same in here. But you're looking at a $2,300,000 general fund expenditures. The EDA is requesting to levy, and they can levy on the market value of the city to 0.0183 something. It's about $40-some thousand. That's not included in that 2 million that you have, and neither are the revenues I haven't taken the revenues or the LGA off of it. And last year you counted on $90,000 in building permit revenue. You've only brought in $35,000. When I used to do the budget, we didn't even count on building permit revenue because of the reason stuff fluctuated so bad. So I don't know what you want to do about that for revenues. It's all stuff we can talk about when we do our budget meeting, but just things that I want you to think about. What number then do you want? I see that you've changed your philosophy on that. What number do you want to put in that building permit revenue line item? And I can provide you with that. And hopefully by that time I will have the market numbers from the county. I should have. I was supposed to get them in the middle of August. And I called them and asked them to change the email too, because everything goes to Maggie's email and not to me. So I haven't gotten it yet. And I don't know if Janelle has. She hasn't forwarded it to me if she has, but
His email isn't automatically forwarded to the new one?
No.
I thought Jimmy was set.
no, it's set. No, it's still there's still Maggie email. There were like 400 emails in there that I went through today of hers that are stuff.
Can they?
Well, they bounce back to them and tell them that they're supposed to go to the city admin at cityofmayor.com or city of mayor, and they're not, must be, people aren't using it. I mean,
The forward
yeah.
to Mike's point, so that they
Right.
don't even have to do that.
I mean,
Like
you
we-
can still have that bounce back to them, but
But ask Jimmy to like,
they
where
should be
an
going.
email comes in, it
That
auto
was supposed to
forwards
happen
to
months ago.
you
I don't want all
automatically.
that stuff auto forwarded, some of it, but I will leave that to the next administrator so he can decide, because there's a lot of stuff like, there's different stuff on there that I wouldn't
But
even.
you looked in there and they didn't send it to Maggie.
All right.
As far as I could see, if I missed it, then I missed it, and I'll call them tomorrow and find out. I'll try to get it by the 1st of September. So then you can do your calculation. And I don't know, do you want me to put together a big budget document or not? Like she's done in the past. I can do that where it shows I imagine you'd like to see your levy and where that is for the history of that.
Yep.
And I don't know if do you want the history on each fund, the general
Well-
fund and all of them, or no?
I just have one question. When we did the fire station, a lot of, did debts fall off because we were supposed to have paid those by 2023?
So the 2000, your 20, one of them did.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Uh,
that's why there was,
The 2017.
There wasn't too many changes because a lot of debts were coming
Right.
off, so we paid interest last year. And that in 2023, who, Ellers, is it Ellers that,
I can double check with them.
double check with him,
Okay,
because that was one of the big selling points, was a lot of our street bonds that, or our bonds that we had, were gonna be paid in 2023, and that's when we were going to do the full payment, because we were just doing interest the first year, and then the full principal interest payment in 2023. And it was pretty even between what the new one is and what the old bonds coming off.
Okay.
If you let them know, I'm pretty sure they'll be able to tell you right away.
And we knew based on their CIP and their projections that 2023 was going to be a little blip up.
Yes, we did know
with
that.
Our tax rate.
I mean, because you're still, the sewer debt, I think this is the last year you have to do that. 2023 will be.
Right, so it might be where like we paid 2023 and then 2024, they were gone. I just remember there was
I will
a little
double check.
bit.
I will double check on that. It's kind of hard to come back in the middle of it all.
Oh, I'm just
But-
giving you a little history so
I
that you can
appreciate
go
that.
back.
No, I appreciate
Not that you didn't do something right. I just,
No, I appreciate that. That's why I wanted you to see this.
Yeah.
Because is there some debt on here I missed? Or is there something, and that's why I'm asking, and are you still levying for the sewer debt? That was my other thing.
yes, we
okay.
are, but not the full amount, or were we? Yes, we are still levying for sewer.
I don't know, we haven't had very many building permits this year for new houses, so.
And I thought we always just did 25 houses. Isn't that-
Well, we used to adjust, we took the bond amount that the bond payment was gonna be, and we adjusted it by the number of housing permits we had from the previous year, if I remember right. Because then those houses helped to pay, the hookup fees paid for part of that.
Yeah, we have to get the numbers from the county.
Yeah,
for our work session, so.
right, yes. So you
Yeah, but
can
no,
see
we-
what your levy's gonna do.
Yes, we've still bonded for sewer.
Right.
Our goal is to not bond for sewer,
Well, not
but I
levy.
know we're not there yet.
Right.
Okay,
All right. Anything else on that? Tina?
No.
More?
nope.
All right. Any other questions on it?
I've really come a long way with this
Talk
budget.
more- We'll talk more in a couple
What?
minutes on it. All right, with that, we'll adjourn then.
So I've come a long way.
Are we
From when I
having a
first
council
started.
meeting if you're gone on the 12th?
Yeah, you're having a council meeting.
Okay.
What day was that, Wednesday on the 31st?
Yeah.
We didn't sign, I didn't sign anything.
I put it on my calendar, come up to your place around 11:30 tomorrow.
11:30. Yep.
No, I passed it on.
I know I've been gone for a while, but I didn't know you changed the whole process.